Hey everybody, Robert with RC Archery. In this Tuesday's Tip of the Week video, I'm going to be giving you a rundown of my equipment, my bow, my arrows, the release that I'm using, some of the extra accessories that I have sitting around that I use on a day-to-day basis, and just kind of give you a glimpse into why I'm using what I do and the brands and the setup that I have. Now, I want to say starting out that I hope everybody that's watching this is well and safe and everyone's okay in this crazy time that we have going on in the world right now. So I want to try to get this video done. Thank you for everybody that voted on my Instagram channel to make this the first video that I'm putting out. I'm going to try to get some more coming out pretty soon as well and just have a little bit more content while we're all stuck at home or home a lot more than normal right now with all the craziness. So again, I hope everybody is well when you're watching this, and I wish everyone the best as well. So there's a video that's going to be about bow setup and everything that I actually saw today. I'm filming this on a Saturday. It was by Chris B. So if you haven't checked out his YouTube channel, Be Real, look at it. A lot of you probably have. It's an incredibly popular channel, but he has a really cool rundown of his equipment and his setup too. So I wanted to give a shout out to that since this video is very similar and coming out at around the same time as his. So let's get into it. All right, so we might as well start it out with the bigger parts, what I'm using. This is a PSE Focus. This is not the XL version. This is the standard axle-to-axle version, I guess, if you want to look at it that way. For me, I think with the size of the cams on this bow and the axle-to-axle that it was set at, it actually fits me for a string angle really well, and I like this one a lot. That being said, I haven't actually tried the XL version. I'm sure it's an awesome bow too, but I've had some longer axle-to-axle bows in that range before in the past, and while I can still be incredibly comfortable with them, I don't know that it fits me as well. I have a longer nose, so the angle that I like is a little bit steeper. It seems to fit me and work better for just personal feel and what I'm doing with it. Along with this bow, a couple things that I'll point out really quickly. I actually have this little grip pad here on the end of it. This is Boudad's. It's for pistol grips, but it's he sent me out a sheet of it that I purchased, and I just cut it off, measured it, and put it on there. So when I was shooting my last indoor event for the season, my hands towards the end of the round, it was an incredibly good round happening for me, and I got a little bit nervous towards the end, and my hands started to sweat pretty well, and I actually had my hand, I use a low grip, so my hand has a tendency to want to slide up some if I'm not careful, but I actually had it slide up as I was shooting. My finger got up here. Without a closed riser like I've had on my PSEs in the past and some other bows, my finger actually ended up hitting the vein of an arrow, and did that twice. And I don't know if it's a testament to the equipment that I have and the way that my arrows are set up, or just dumb luck, but I still ended up hitting the X on the target, so I got lucky on it. But after that, I decided I'm going to put something back here. I don't like grip wrap. I've used that in the past, like the hockey tape or the tennis racket tape that wraps around. It adds thickness to the grip. I don't really like how it feels. This is super thin. I don't notice any change in like perceived draw length feel or anything with it that way, so I'm going to be testing this out, see how it goes. A lot of different other versions and things you can use, but I use this. It's kind of a rubber material, and it's not really abrasive on my hand, so I seem to like that more. Arrow rest, Hamsky arrow rest. This is the micro adjust version of it. It's a Target Pro model. I've got the engraving there with RC Archery. I thought that was kind of cool and a neat little touch to it. But I use this as a limb-driven drop-away system. Just use one of their standard clamps here that you can put on there. Attaches to the limb. Personally, I don't like the cable-driven systems because, one, you can, anytime you change any of your adjustments or anything that you're doing on your bow, you got to readjust how you're doing on the drop-away portion. But also, I could always feel it when I was drawing the bow back because it was kind of tugging and pulling on the cams, and I don't know, just peace of mind. I like it better on the limbs. I don't seem to have any issue with it. I'm using their Teflon launcher blade here. It's a taper launcher. I don't know if it'll show up on video there. Seems to work really well. I didn't use a backer plate on the metal version that I had on here that comes standard with them, and this just seems to fit any of my arrows, my 26s, 23s, indoor, outdoor. I'm not having to really worry about it or mess with the extra tuning or anything. This was asked about a couple times on a post. This little arrow catch here, this actually comes with the arrow rest from Hamsky. And I use that on there because when I'm loading an arrow on there, it helps me be able to keep everything intact without it wanting to fall or slide around or anything as I'm going to draw back. So it seems to work really well. Of course, the sight, Axel Achieve sight. This is the carbon rod. It's a 6-inch rod. I don't like the really long sight bars. I'm not going to hang it out there or do anything crazy with it. I actually run it in a little bit closer even from straight out from where I torque tuned it. And you'll notice that there's a Zeros light kit on here. It's Evolution. I love the light kit. Wouldn't run it any other way. I can use this indoors, outdoors, dark, at night, middle of the day. I can get consistent sizing on my pin, on the perceived size of it, because I can change and adjust the lighting. So I always have really good consistent sight picture that way, and I love that you can change the colors on it. I use a clear fiber and you can run it through with blue, red, or green. And I've just personally liked the blue. That seems to work best for me. But that runs into a Shrewd scope. This is the Mini Mag. This is what I use for my indoor setup, outdoor setup. It works for 3D. It's a little small. Probably would need a bigger setup for 3D. But you can kind of see just the way that the light and everything runs through it with their kit. And it just runs into the top. I have it here on the bottom for the light to run through. I use a blocker. So if you see this here, it's a kind of a vision blocker. I 3D printed one out, made it for the size of the scope that I was using. It just seems to help me with the lens. My left eye wanted to kind of take over more, and I never really could get a consistent feel on what I was looking at. So that blocker eliminates that, allows me to have both eyes open, be a little bit more comfortable. Lens-wise, I'm using a Feather Vision 4X lens, not a huge lens. I've never used one in the past until recently. I like it. You will see a little bit more perceived motion when you go to a lens, so keep that in mind. Don't do anything really crazy. If you've never used one, don't put in a 6 or 8X lens and go, it's gonna be a shock to your brain what you see. So just, as a heads up on that. Bars, these are the Conquest SPAC down bars. They're the 625s. I personally like these 625s a lot. They're thin enough that if I want to use them outdoors, I don't notice any kind of weirdness with the wind, but they're not so small that they have a lot of residual vibration. So they seem to dampen everything pretty well. I do run a decent amount of weight. These larger stack weights here that you can get from Conquest, this is 8 ounces. I believe this one in the front is 1 ounce, maybe 2. So I'm running 9, 10 ounces on the front of a 30-inch bar. Quick disconnect, 10-degree down. Back rod is a 15-inch bar. I've got 12 ounces on the back of it, and just run it at the angle that held best for me. Just experiment and run around with that. But that's generally my setup that I've used now for the last year, or a little bit over, depending on some of the products. It's bulletproof, it works really well. I'm not having to mess with it a lot or change anything or do anything. Use the finger sling. A lot of people ask me about this. This was made by Aaron Smith. You can find him on Facebook, or you can contact me. I can get some of these made for you if you want them. But I like them. A lot of different colors, a lot of different things. I've got several of them. Specialty Peep. This is just their standard one. It's the light version, I think. It's got a 0.5 clarifier in it. Seems to work really well, but I like these because I can adjust the aperture size, find out what size that I need, and then just go and buy the verifier so I don't have to buy several of them to see what size that I need on there. All right, next up, let's look at my quiver, what I've got in it, what I'm using, all that good stuff. So this is actually an Angel quiver. They're made in China. This was way before the coronavirus. This is the quiver portion here is almost 10 years old probably. The belt's probably 5 or so years. It's pretty cool. Got the original one had my name in it. This one I just did the RC Archery one on it. Kind of like that. It's got a pocket here where I can put Allen keys and some different things in there, knock tools. I use a clicker. You can buy these. You can go to a sports store and buy them. They use them, like umpires can use them, coaches use them for pitch counts. A lot of different uses for them, but I use it. I like keep count of my arrows that I'm shooting because I can kind of track how I'm doing. So if I know I need to peak at a certain time or something, that if I shoot between 30, 40 arrows the day before something, I shoot really well. So I use it for that sometimes, or I just use it kind of train and go through what I'm shooting, what I'm looking at. Arrow puller, standard regular arrow puller. Grabbed it off of Lancaster Archery. Got a little quick disconnect piece there. Keep a pin. You never know when you need to ride on targets. Keep your score, all that fun stuff. Arrow-wise, I'm using Black Eagle PS26s on my indoor setup. I've got a 4-fletch setup here. It's AAE Max Stealth Vanes. I use a left 3-degree helical on them. With that drop away, I get a little bit more on there, and that seems to work really well. Biter knock, it's a 19.2 Hunter knock, works really well. Love these. No knock pinch, seems to have really good consistent fit, and the tolerances when they're made are really good too. I actually noticed my X count average going up a little bit, not a lot, but a little bit when I went to these. It's just more consistency over time. They seem to handle more arrows being shot, or the knot rather seems to be handled being shot more than some of the others that I've used in the past before I have to change them. These are, I believe, 27.25 carbon to carbon, the way that I have them cut right now, with 200 grains up front. They're top hat points, and I have the brass screw-in inserts on the inside of these that I put in there, and I just glue those in whenever I find the one that I like, and I just use hot melt or cold melt. I don't believe, actually I think it's cold melt that I just put in there, and same thing that I glue the points in, so it all just kind of sticks in there together. Rangefinder, Leupold. It's RX 1200. It's got adjustment for slants and stuff like that if you need that. I got it for 3D outdoors. It comes in handy sometimes. Preferred release, True Ball Fulcrum Flex. This is a 2-finger version with my attachment that I have on there. It's a thumb peg that I made and put on it. I don't sell the thumb pegs. It's just something kind of fun that I wanted different to put on there. I just thought it'd be nice. UltraView makes really good thumb pegs too. You can put them in there, change them out, whatever you want to do. This is just personally, I wanted my own to put on there since I'm doing the 3D printing side. So I had this. It's my go-to. I use the fast click in it. The fast click for me seems to be the best because I don't have a lot of movement after I get to full draw and after I get into my anchor to where the release actually fires. So I can focus on maintaining solid pressure in the system and then a small movement after that to actually activate the shot. Other release that I use frequently when I'm switching things up or kind of changing things around is the True Ball Abyss Flex. This is the thumb model version that kind of coincides with the Fulcrum Flex. It's a little bit different on the feel and the anchor of it, angle of the head of the release and stuff, and I actually shoved it over a little bit so it changed it some even more. If you don't know, you can actually adjust the head of the release left and right. You can do the same thing on the Fulcrum Flex too. It changes the balance point, kind of how it feels in your hand. You'll notice on this one, it's a 4-finger version. When I shoot a thumb release, I like the extra leverage on there. I'm not rocking or rotating the release, but it keeps a good flat hand for me, and it seems to be more consistent when I'm placing my thumb on the thumb peg and actually pulling through. Square peg, they're 1/2 inch diameter. On the standard peg, this is 3/4, so bigger, obviously. I just like that better because my hand seems to fit. Just the way that I'm using it, my thumb is further away. So if I have to use that 1/2 inch, it seems like it gets too far in. It's harder for me to execute with it. Personally, I like the square peg. I designed this because I was having issues with my thumb kind of slipping around. This has a little bit of an edge and a grip that I can put on here that kind of catches as I'm pulling through and executing my shot. So I use this as a training tool mostly. If I start feeling weird with the hinge release or something gets notchy on it, I actually pull this out, and I use it a lot the same as a tension release, like a Carter Evolution, Stand Element, those type. Whereas it's here and I don't worry about activating the thumb or doing anything, I just continually pull through, and it's just working on the consistent thumb pressure on that thumb peg to begin with. So it's kind of a reset button for me, something that I like to use. Last little thing when it comes down to just odds and ends, I actually use stuck-up archery pins. So if you haven't ever seen these, they're awesome. There's a younger kid that makes these along with his family and some friends. 3D printed, but man, they're well made. They're super good on price. I had these two made up early on. You can actually change the colors that you want on here now and do a lot of different things with them, but I don't know, they're really cool. It's a little personalized touch. It's kind of cool to have these when you go to a tournament or sitting around practicing at home and just kind of going down that route. All right, last thing that I wanted to talk about really fast is the target that I'm using. And this is actually my original big boy archery target that I got, I think 3 years ago. 2 for sure, maybe 3. But it was when they first started the company, when they first started coming out with these targets. I purchased it because they're economically priced. They're multi-layered foam targets and they hold up really well, especially for the price. Now, you'll see here, it looks a little bit different than maybe what you've seen in the past. This is actually a face that you can buy. They come with the targets when you buy them new, but I purchased this one separately, and you can get them at different thicknesses and different sizes, but this has helped the longevity of this target for me. It was actually starting to get kind of worn down. It's older, it's still starting to move, and it shifts around a little bit when you're looking at it, and you got to readjust it because the foam is actually getting really worn out. But it's 3 years old. It gets shot a lot. It's smaller, so everything's kind of compacted in there. This foam face you're looking at right now probably has close to 1,000 arrows in it with what you're seeing. Some of these bigger holes and shifting the targets up and down and left and right when I'm using a Vegas face at 20 yards is what all of this is seen. So extremely well kept for what it is, and it's working really well. So wanted to throw that out there. They make some targets now that you can get in stiffer banding, meaning how hard they're compacting them together for higher poundage targets, all the way to youth targets that are looser banding so the arrows can actually stick in there versus bouncing out and coming back at them. So I don't know if you've ever seen that before with a youth bow, but it's an interesting situation to see an arrow come flying back at a kid. So super awesome. Love these targets. Recommend them for everybody. I think they're still a little bit behind in production. It seems like that they keep a lot of orders going through, but I know the wait's not as long as it used to be. So keep these in mind. Check them out whenever you need a target next round. All right, guys, that's my setup. That's my rundown for my equipment, what I'm using, some of the accessories that I have. Appreciate you watching this video today. I'm gonna have some more coming out soon. I'm actually gonna do a little bit of a shooting video. I know a lot of people have kind of wanted to see that, and it's gonna be me shooting a simulated round for an online archery tournament setup. So I wanted you to be able to see what that looks like, especially now because you can't really get out to go to any more tournaments, and this might be a good alternative for you to kind of keep the competitive juices flowing and put yourself into some pressure. So it'd be pretty cool to see that. I'm gonna do a full rundown on it, a full explanation so you can see exactly how they run that. I'm also gonna give you just some videos of me shooting and talking and doing some tips like always, and try to do a few more of these this weekend so that we can get them out over the coming weeks, maybe even do a multiple video per week setup too. Plenty to watch. So if you want to support this channel and you feel like you're able to, patreon.com/RC Archery. I'll put a link in the description of this video. I would love to have your contributions on there. There's some different packages on it that allow you to have different things. I've got a couple more podcasts that I can do before I'm going to run out of space on there and have to purchase additional space. So I'm going to make the decision whether or not I'm going to do that based off of just support stuff coming in. Don't have the money to put it out there to buy the subscription right now that I want to just come out of pocket with. So if there's a need for that and if there's a want for it and you like the podcast and want to see that happen more, let me know. You can comment on this video, tell me about it. You can go on there on the Patreon and click the support for that too. So much appreciated there. If you've had an order through me for the thumb pegs, the 2-finger attachments, those items are they're coming out, but they're slower right now. I actually order them through a printing service. They come to me in the mail and I have to mail them out to you. And with everything being crazy right now, it's taking a little bit longer to get them in and out. So if you've ordered one, bear with me, have some patience. Some of them have gone out last week and they're normally 3-4-ish days and I'm being told 2 weeks. So keep that in mind. Same thing with them coming into me. I can normally get them in within a week, 2 weeks tops. And right now I've had an order where I'm on 2 weeks so far that I'm still waiting to get it. So give me some patience on that, guys. Sorry about that. I apologize, but it's just way of craziness going on right now. But appreciate you watching this video again and all your support. Stay safe, stay healthy, stay in your homes if you can. If you're not having to work, I know some of us are still having to work. So, but stay safe, guys. I'll talk to you soon.